That's what I want to say. And my brother and his wife were attending because they were close to her, and and she went to the hospital because she was dehydrated for the second time. So I told her, but I didn't get it. And I said, well, she has to be really much
one that they can make. Yeah. So you can make
we have to have water starting.
Hello.
We've been 6 months. And the nurses said, unless he understands. But it's just so yeah, we have to be over.
And he looks like her too.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a lot of expressions. I remember. Yeah.
I have a copy of Major Pettigrew's Last Stand if anybody needs it. It's not next month, it is August. Next month is A Share in Death. But we have one in the collection, so I said, here's an extra one. So
what's next month's called?
A Share in Death by Deborah Crombie.
Is there a copy in the library somewhere?
There should be, yes. Okay.
Will we send around a sign-up sheet? Should somebody send around a sign-up sheet?
I can grab a piece of paper. Emails? Yep, I can go grab some.
Some new people.
Yay!
You're like, I'm a teacher. We are both retired teachers. It's like an open circle.
Oh, you're not Molly, huh?
No, but you can call me Wallace if you want.
Here's the.
Like their quilt.
I saw them.
I just want to get my overdrive on this.
I think if you go to overdrive, it'll send it to, it'll probably send it to the
Have you read this book?
That's what
They're actually doing that. Yeah, I have. But it's through the pedicure library.
Yes, so it's all.
Yeah, I got that. I just hit Libby and that.
Oh, this is fantastic. Yeah.
I remember doing that with you.
I like Michelle recommended Michelle Various recommended this is her pick. Yeah, it was fantastic. I thought it was fantastic.
That's a drop, I really love you.
Yeah, but I mean,
I know. I thought no hope, and then all of a sudden,
and then it'll be in there.
yeah. I hope they remember that. Get together when they were young.
It's from the grocery store.
It was fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, I always go back and visit and all the ones I have that I didn't get a chance to read. But this one,
Or either one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for making these.
Whether it's Overdrive or Kindle or.
I'd like to get a share.
You have more than one copy of shared national library?
Because he was in.
That I actually,
He was on the beach and saw.
I'm not sure about extra copies. Does anybody need a copy of the book list for the year?
Right now.
Since I have it right here.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we might have a straggler or two, but we can go ahead and get started. This is so exciting, back in the library. So I was so excited when I got the word. I was like, yes, finally. Okay. Just in case somebody is joining. If somebody sees anything pop up there, let me know so I can let them in. I also have some books left over from, this is our bin when we were closed during COVID. If anybody is missing a book, but it might be here. And we are talking about the book that I recommended, and I hope that everybody enjoyed it. Because I always am kind of hesitant to recommend books, because what happens if somebody reads it and says, what is she thinking? That's a terrible book.
But you know, not everyone's going to like it.
Yeah,
So it's like
exactly.
if you liked it and you read it, then that's all that matters. Then you know, I'd be to go with it. Someone else will like it.
Okay, I'm gonna just kind of hang out here closer to the computer. So, okay. So our book is The Book of Lost Names by Kristen Harmel, who was born May 4th, 1979 in Newton, Massachusetts. She got her Bachelor of Arts at University of Florida, and she currently lives in Orlando. She has more than a dozen novels to her name, which that surprises me because I thought that this is the first time I'd ever heard of her, but I do think she has another book coming out not too far in the future. And she gained her first writing experience at the age of 16 as a sports writer for the St. Petersburg Times and Tampa Bay All Sports Magazine while attending Northeast High School in St. Petersburg, Florida. She was a reporter for People magazine starting in 2000, and she's also written for other publications including Runner's World, Glamour, Men's Health, American Baby, Every Day with Rachel Ray, and more. Oh, The Winemaker's Wife. I have heard of that one. I didn't realize she wrote that, but.
Oh, really?
Yep, that's hers. Yeah.
It sounds like it would, I mean, I enjoyed this one, so I would want to read that one.
The Room on Rue Amélie and The Sweetness of Forgetting, which I hadn't heard of those. And she lives with her husband, Jason, in Orlando. So, what did you all feel about the book?
Wonderful.
I enjoyed the story, knowing about what they did, how they did it. It was interesting. Different Holocaust kind of story.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't just about the normal kind of story. This was different. I liked it.
Exactly. There was like an inundation of World War II, books set during World War II, but this one was pretty, I don't know. I did enjoy it. I get a lot of advanced copies through NetGalley, and this was one of them, and I'm like, this I'm buying. So.
And that was a good title too, because I did not know where it was going to go, the Book of Lost
Yeah,
Names.
exactly.
I read.
And then when you think about, the children, especially the younger they are, the less likely they're going to remember their families and their names. How tragic. The whole thing
Are
is
her
tragic.
books mostly on NetGalley? That's all.
I don't know.
This one was.
This is the first one that I've actually read of hers, and I thought she was a new author, but she's been writing for a long time, even though she's funny. You have to raise your hand.
Yeah, I know. I raised my hand. The winemaker's wife is once again in France, but it's with the wine cellars and where they would have the resistance would hide guns and people. And it was.
I just.
Did you like it?
I did like it. I enjoyed this one better,
Okay.
but I did like it, and I listened to it. So.
Are all her books about World War II? I mean, two of them are.
Yeah, I'm not
just
sure.
wondering.
That's a good question. Oh, it did bring my phone. I don't know. I'll try to find out. So on page 16, which it's been a while since I read it, so I don't even know what page 16 says, but Musha tells Eva, if we shrink from them, if we lose our goodness, we let them erase us. And we cannot do that, Eva. We cannot. Compare her stance here with how she behaves in, I'm sorry, I don't speak French, Arignan, after Tattoos is taken by the Germans. How does her outlook change? And if you reread this, knowing that her mom felt this way before tragedy struck, how do your opinions of her and her reaction to Eva's work as a forger change? So, because she was really harsh. Mama
I
was
wanted to
really harsh.
throttle her.
Yeah, exactly.
I did, because I thought she was the betrayer once,
Oh, really?
at the end there,
Yeah.
because I thought she was so vicious at the end with her
Oh, she
daughter,
really
what she was
was.
saying to her, and I just thought, this way but, I should have known she wouldn't turn her daughter in, but I just thought maybe she's went that way.
I guess she was trying anything she could to go back to where she thought they could get back, but they couldn't.
No.
She didn't seem to get it.
Yeah.
I mean, that life was not the way it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a different time though too, and it was very important to marry, someone else that was Jewish and all of those things, but it seemed
But she was not just
absurd
marrying.
that it was happening during.
She was mad at her that she didn't go right away to Swiss State. Why are they staying in this town? Let's go.
Yeah.
Why aren't you going back to your father? Why aren't you it was all on her daughter. It was all on her daughter to do something. That's what this mother was doing to her.
I thought she was gonna come around and she doesn't
No.
until the very end.
Very
right.
When she's saying, her
Yeah,
daughter
before she
was
gets
brave or
executed.
whatever.
No, I would think that, okay, my husband's been, arrested. This is a terrible thing. Let me protect my daughter. And it seemed like she was more worried or concerned about her husband's life than her daughter's life. And I don't know. I don't get that.
Yeah, she almost gave him away a number of times on the train, and things.
I think she was naive, that she really didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
She kept herself too much in the house and around her husband. And I think she married him, didn't she marry him when she was pretty young?
It
That's
did
true.
I
say,
think so.
they alluded to that she really relied on him.
Right.
That's true, I forgot about that.
And he
Yeah.
said that too, for the little time that his daughter was with him. He acted like she could be difficult. That he kind of, I think he did. He said, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he acted like he understood that she could be like that.
I still remember when they were watching, her mother and her were in that other apartment, her father was in their apartment, and she falls asleep, I think, the mother and the daughter, Eva, hears and watches and sees what transpires, and when she tells her mother screams at her, like, you should have done something, and I'm thinking, you would die. You would have gotten pulled right in with she wouldn't let go of it. It was your fault. You let your father. It was her fault. It was constantly her fault.
Yeah.
And she had such guilt throughout that story. And I mean, from her mother, she kept getting.
I think
Because she was an only child, she didn't have siblings
to share the
discuss.
guilt.
Yeah.
How do you see mother,
Yes.
And I think their father had to have enabled the mother.
Oh,
Had to have enabled her.
he created this bubble for her, and she stayed in it, and he felt, okay, this is how she is. It's
So that's the
okay.
least of resistance, this is how you get, along with this woman.
Yeah, well, there you go. That is a good point. Let's see. The beginning of Eva's nightmare falls on the night her father is taken away and she's forced to watch it happen in silence. Do you think she did the right thing by keeping quiet, or should she have done more to try to save him?
Kind of answered that.
Yeah. And what do you think you would do in that situation?
There was nothing she could have possibly done that would have gotten her father saved. The only thing I could see coming out of it is she now becomes part of it. The mother now is lost too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because how would you stop? He was Jewish.
Yeah.
They knew that. He admits to it. He's going.
Yeah.
There was no way. And they needed that apartment for another family that wasn't Jewish.
And she was very perceptive. I mean, the guy who ultimately betrayed them in the end, who was her school.
She had those feelings. I
Well,
knew
he had even
Yeah.
told her that it was going to happen, and she thought he was being dramatic. But I think all those things went through her mind as they were taking her father. Like,
This
she
is
was,
really happening.
this is
Yeah.
really happening,
Yeah.
and there's nothing I can do about it.
Michelle?
I don't know if somebody's trying to
Oh,
log in or not.
thank you.
Is everybody signed?
Thank you for that.
Yes. Did you, who's this guy?
Just leave it.
Okay.
Thank you. Hopefully she can hear. This is an experiment. Hi, Jennifer.
Oh, hello. Oh, I bet you can't see me.
The neighbor from the beginning?
Yes.
You're good enough to watch my children.
Yeah.
And you're good enough to take care of when all this kinds of, but I can't stand you. You know, get out.
I'm going to take over your apartment when you leave.
I mean, what a hypocrite.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, that was.
Well, I'm sure that's probably what happened. I mean, true,
Yeah, we're like that.
That's true.
during that time.
It was so hateful, yeah. It was-
I was kind of worried about the priest being like on the wrong side, you know. I was just like, no, no, no.
He might be the traitor.
Yeah.
Don't let him
Yeah.
betray her.
I believed him. I just felt always like I believed him.
I hope that's not me.
Some of these cars.
I don't know. Sometimes
It's good.
It's not any of us.
there, okay, this one says the selflessness present in so many in Arignon. Say about the human capacity for goodness in times of crisis, because there were so many people that were working.
True. In that little town.
Yeah.
Network somehow.
Yeah, it was almost like a little haven, like they all were in there and it was hiding and getting this done. So most of them could be trusted.
Right.
From what we knew.
The cranky woman that they moved in with, you know, at first you're like, oh, but then she ended up being, you know, part of the circle, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to say, when I think about if I were to find myself in a position like that, would I have been, you know, courageous enough to do what I think I should do? That's so scary.
And she saw the consequence, like with her father taking away and probably murdered. Yeah. This thing, and I don't
know.
And to stay and watch other people, things happen.
Amazing.
You had to feel probably like there was nothing left to lose. There was nothing left to do. And if you can go out at least helping people, help them. I don't know.
Especially children.
Yeah,
She was helping a lot of kids.
For the courage of all the neighbors who took in the children
Yeah.
and hid them
Yeah.
and took that chance.
Right.
And had school, they taught school, they had like little
Yeah,
routines.
that's true.
Wow. That was impressive.
Then years ago, I listened to, it was an interview of a fellow who had served in Afghanistan, and somebody asked him about courage. Where did he get the courage to do? And he said, you stand there and you probably wet yourself, and you stand there and you very well could vomit, and you stand there and your stomach is so upset that you don't know what you're going to do about it anyway. And I thought that really summed up courage to me, you know, that you just do it anyway.
Well, I mean, and then we think of a character that betrayed them. He wasn't very courageous. You know, he
I mean,
saved himself.
talking
rather
about Eva and the
Yeah.
resistance movement, I mean, those people must
Oh, I
have
know.
known their chances of survival were.
Joseph was part,
Joseph.
or head of that resistance, and he had that code name, I forget the name of his code name.
Yeah, he was.
But he was, and then he
Yeah,
turns when
yeah.
what, they get him, and then they promise.
They
it's
don't-
named
Your
him.
life or-
He gives
yeah.
names, and then he gets,
Not tortured to death.
but the thing is, they let him go, so why couldn't he just go and then just run and do?
Because he had to give them up first, or
Yeah, but
something.
he could have
He
even gone to
was being
Switzerland.
watched, and he was, and they relied on him to give them information.
Was he Jewish though?
I thought he
Yeah,
was,
he was.
because the mother liked him, remember, the mother liked him
Yeah.
because he was Jewish.
Yeah.
What a good boy, marry him.
That's right.
The guy that's ready to kill you in 2 seconds at the end of the book.
Remember her father said, just think if you did marry him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So go with your instincts.
I mean, the fact that he did that thing to Genevieve,
Yeah.
the girl, I mean, what he did was cruel and left her and she's still like alive and dying and with these gaping holes. So I was like, what kind of guy does that?
Turncoat.
I mean,
Loyalty.
like a psychopath.
But he thought so, but he was always such a prima donna and
That's
looked
true.
great,
True.
you know, and you have to be where he was going. To think a lot of
Self-centered.
himself.
If it's too,
Yeah.
it looks too
He was
good.
out for himself.
Right,
completely.
right. Too good.
Too good.
This says Eva and her mother react very differently to the news that Eva's father had been sent to Auschwitz. What do their reactions reveal about them as characters? And do you think there's a right way or a wrong way to react to such news? I mean, you react how you react. I mean,
Again, the mother was naive.
Yeah.
And she didn't know really where he was going and what could have happened, you know.
But then the mother said, she kept saying he was alive.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
was alive.
yeah.
But we all thought he was dead.
Yeah, right. He's a goner, right?
I was shocked.
I thought it was history.
Me too.
For
I
his
was
age.
shocked that he was.
I thought for sure he was dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
For
thought.
sure.
That was the only thing on this story that wasn't believable to me, that he did live through 4 years at Auschwitz. That, and he was old, an older man.
Well, look, Anne Frank's father. Anne Frank's father made it, and he was the older one in that. If you
Oh,
remember,
that's true. That's true.
and her mother and the two girls, and he was the only one who made it back after. So
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
you know, after everyone else dies in his family. So I thought it was.
So you
Possible.
can't assume, you know.
Right.
You can't let your imagination run away with you. You just have to stay focused.
That's true.
But Eva did think he had.
Yeah.
parents
Yes.
and, you know,
Well,
She was
giving
realistic.
false hope to the mother. She kept saying probably wasn't a good idea, but in the end.
Just keep her going. I think her mom would not have been okay on her own, no matter
No.
in what situation, but definitely in a situation like that, she would not have been okay.
I think it gave Eva strength because she was so mad at what they did to him, and she loved her father. That I think that gave her courage to do what she wanted to do. It was kind of like a revenge.
That's true.
What do you think the mother would have done if her daughter wasn't in the picture? Now, like she's helping that lady out with the kids. The husband gets taken. She finds out the husband gets taken. What do you think the mom's going to do?
She would have went and found where he was and they would have done something. That's
Yeah,
what I
I
did.
think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of her money.
I just think that one of the over recurring themes of that was, who do you trust and who do you know who to
Yes.
trust?
That's true.
Yeah.
That was a recurring thing.
Times like that, I guess
Sometimes
you
I
have to
thought
be
the
careful.
priest was
Yeah.
guilty, then I thought, you know, or crooked, or, yeah.
And I guess they all had their moments when they could have not been brave.
Yeah.
So,
Turncoat, you know, and
yeah, they could have. They could have.
Remember when the mother was answering questions to that lady, to that rooming house that she was at, and that, and she, every answer was yes in Russian, duh. And the woman was asking her things that obviously duh was not the right answer.
That's the woman was Russian.
Right, right, so that's why she knew how to, but it was, and I'm just thinking, I know she's not just answering yes or no questions just because
Yeah.
she kept talking to her and it wasn't coming out, and I was like, ooh, this might not be good, but.
So I missed the beginning. Did everybody like the book? Did
Yeah.
everybody like it?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has said that they didn't, so that makes me feel okay.
There's so many World War II books. I'm reading one now. Jacqueline Winspear has a new one out, The Consequence of Fear, and that's about French resistance workers also. And my daughter was just reading The Nightingale. I mean, there are just so many. It's an overwhelming number of World War II books out recently.
I just checked and it looked like the 3 books of Kristen Harmel's that we spoke about, they are all set in World War II. I don't know about
They all are? Oh,
Yes.
okay. Mm.
But it
It
did
was
seem
interesting that that woman that took them in, she was able to provide good food.
Right.
You know?
yes.
And so that was a blessing, and as time went on, then there wasn't such
Yeah.
good food, you know, that was left out. But, you know, when the Germans took everything, how did you survive? I mean, I look at the toilet paper situation during
Yeah.
the pandemic. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Right.
We all tried to hoard it.
Yeah.
We would be doing that.
Give me that.
I do think in a situation like that, the people in the country, you know, the rural areas would be better off than in the city because they would have more, I guess, nature to draw off of. You know, it might not be the first thing you choose, but there'd be something out there, you know, at least for most of the, you know, for a long time, a longer time than in the city.
And I also said that the Germans kind of left the rural places alone. There wasn't as much interest in going there.
Right.
But
So
she
it was a
knew,
safer place.
she knew at the
That's
beginning
right.
she could go to that town because her father's friend had told her that. But it was surprising that everybody there was on the same page, but I guess they had so much pride in themselves. You know, like, we're neutral and we're gonna help people or something like that. I don't know why they were all of them.
Yeah, I don't think they were neutral. Think they realized what the Nazis were doing was awful, trying to kill these kids and killing everyone.
But they weren't, wasn't it, at that point, it was a neutral area, or it wasn't?
Where they were in France, it wasn't a neutral area, but those people had made it a neutral area themselves. It wasn't like the Germans said this is a neutral area.
There was Free France, but even that, in South France, but even that didn't last very long before the Germans took over there.
So Eva says in the book that I've always thought that it's those children, the ones who realize that books are magic, who will have the brightest lives. How did Eva's love of books help her throughout different points in the story? And discuss your favorite books as children. And okay, this is a good one. This is my favorite one, is part of that question. What book was it that made you fall in love with reading? Was there one book that just like, this is it?
I was gonna say, I can't remember what the title was, but I remember reading these books about this like crazy witch who couldn't fly straight and everything like that, and I had to give a book report on it. And I remember standing up in front of class and laughing so hard about my book. I couldn't even get to my book report. And I still remember that. I just remember they were about a witch. That's all I can remember.
I don't remember too early, but I remember loving Nancy Drew.
Yes.
You know, like all those Bobbsey twins.
The
Bobbsey twins. I love finding out what their families were
Cherry
doing.
Ames. I read Cherry Ames.
Right. I could read Bobbsey twin books when I was, before you should have been able to read. I didn't even know all the words, but I read through them. I guess I always liked series because of that, because that was a whole
It
series.
was like that whole family, those kids, what were they doing and what kind of what they got into, but
I really loved The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. When they go through that wardrobe and there's a whole nother world on the other side, that's snow and a fawn comes and the light, that just always struck me. It's a whole different world was behind that wardrobe. I think it was only like 9 or 10 when I read that book. But I also love Nancy Drew.
Nancy Drew.
Yeah.
She Belden too, because there were horses in there.
Mr.
Oh yes, my daughter loved that one.
I like the boxcar children.
Yes. And that's neat that the next generations are still,
Yeah, I was gonna
you know,
say,
my grandchildren are
Yeah, the next year, yeah.
a lot younger than I am. So.
the little.
Yeah. They were like a little-
Oh yeah, that was a cool. Yeah, that was a fun book.
And 5 Little Peppers and how they grew.
yes, I remember
Oh yes, my little peppers.
I remember when I first started teaching, and I was teaching 7th grade, I got into Roald Dahl's books, like G and Matilda and all those. They were just fun, and as an adult, I loved reading them, and it was fun to just be able to. George's Marvelous Medicine.
Remind me about Eva, because I haven't read the book now for a while, and I forgot.
Yeah, what book was she?
What books did she interact with? I forget.
I forgot too. Which ones?
Oh, the
Yeah,
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, little girl like that.
Takes you to a place in your mind and lets you forget about reality, which could be a good thing.
Go someplace else.
Yeah, right.
Especially in a situation like that.
How about those children? They had to memorize their new names.
Yeah.
And, you
Oh.
know,
And as a family, I remember when they had to, when Eva was one of the supposed mother, I mean, they had to say the right things. You could have gotten caught so easily. You know how kids are. They would just say, that's not my name. The German would be like, oh, let's talk to these people.
That little girl,
Oh, yeah.
because she said she was shocked, because she, how was she able to do that?
She just named off the children's name and
Yes,
came right along with the storyline.
absolutely. It was amazing.
I mean, there was always something that could have gone wrong to
Mhm.
cause them to be pulled in, especially when you're dealing with more than one person. Now you've got 4 and 2 are kids.
Yeah.
Think about laying in the ditch waiting for the patrol to
Yes.
go past.
Yes.
At the moment.
That's right.
I mean, every moment in that book, like that she lived another day was like another, and probably it was day, moment to moment that she lived. So
Mhm.
why not do whatever? Because everyone else is just trying to survive.
And even when she tried to go get her father, he wasn't there, of course. I mean, it was just so scary, the thought of travel. I don't know if I could have done that.
I know, I would have been afraid to go to that
Into
prison.
the-
That
Right.
crazy to present
Yes.
myself. I'd be like, they're thinking, you look like
I'm
a
not
daughter.
courageous. I wish I was. I don't know if I could.
I
do any of
know,
that.
I don't think I
I would have been on the train to Switzerland. I think, I would have been like, oh, you get me there.
sneaking under that fence or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, when her and Remy, when she was supposed to go with the kids and she's like, no, I'm gonna stay with you. I would have the kids. I don't care, I want to be free. I want to be away from these Nazis. I just want to be
Finally, when
away.
it's all over. Which that part broke my heart. Like when she kept going to the steps, at the
Yeah.
end and waiting for him, and
I knew he was alive.
ah,
I just knew it.
that was like no.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm so
No internet to Google and find
Yes,
people.
yeah. When you think about it,
Yeah.
they're so
Yeah, that's.
I know.
I think it'd be a good movie.
I know.
Yeah,
Good.
yes, I think it'd be a great
Absolutely.
movie.
Yeah.
That would-
Very, very.
I think it'd be a really good movie.
yeah.
Is this a pretty new, is that a pretty new book?
Yes, I think
So, like,
it was published
There's a
last year.
possibility.
Maybe somebody in Hollywood's trying to get the rights to.
I think that would be good. I do like the World War II books, but then,
You get fed up sometimes, like you read so many of them. At
Yes,
least
well,
I
that's
do.
the thing,
Well, but-
now
I
I'm
can take a
reading,
break.
some reasons I got, I've read too many, but
Yeah.
I'm not getting
this
some
one
of
was
the books.
different.
It was.
Yes, there was something different about her approach to this that just was so engaging,
Yeah.
as well as thought-provoking,
Yeah.
that I really got emotionally tied up with it.
The whole code thing.
What's gonna happen next? I mean, it really pictured.
Did anyone follow exactly how they did those? You know how it was the.
Oh, yeah, the code.
For the
Oh, yeah.
Fibonacci, that thing. I know but to get it, to remember and to know this, I was
And
getting
then
lost.
to remember it until you were 83 years old.
Right.
Yeah, it would have taken me a bit to get that code and how to do it and how to read it quickly, how to be able to say, oh, this is the message or the name.
That was so clever, wasn't it?
It was.
It was that I'd never heard of before.
Well, they made it up and.
Did they make it up or was
they
it?
did.
Didn't they have to? They had to
He
change
thought
it at one
about
point
it,
when
yeah,
the codes
I mean,
got deciphered or they figured it out.
just-
It was a good book.
Eva thinks to herself, parents make all sorts of errors because our ability to raise our children is always colored by the lives we've lived before they came along. So how do you think Eva's past affected the way she raised her son?
I
I was
odd that she never told him anything.
Yeah. It was like they never connected or they weren't that close, it seemed to me.
I just shared that maybe.
So he
Yeah.
didn't know anything about her past, that she was from
Yeah.
Europe, that she had, he knew she was from Europe, right? That she was from France.
Well, I guess
Maybe
she,
that part.
I
Or from
guess that
Poland.
she protected him in a way. She didn't want him to know that she was Jewish because her son. He didn't know,
That she was Jewish?
did he?
I don't know. I don't know if he did.
I don't think he did till she told him at the very end.
I think who she married wasn't Jewish, right? That guy?
Wasn't.
No, he's
I don't know.
Jewish.
Oh, he was Jewish? Oh,
Yeah,
then-
he was-
right,
he was
he
Jewish.
was.
Well, then I guess they were Jewish.
Yeah,
Okay.
because she didn't want that guilt.
The only thing he didn't know was her
Yeah, she was,
past,
but
just that
she didn't love him.
Yeah, from
She didn't
Europe.
love him.
I
She
don't
grew to love him and, respect
Yeah.
that it wasn't her first love.
But she had a good life.
Yeah,
but.
She didn't want him to know. For some reason, I thought she just didn't want to put him in danger.
Maybe he was too much like the father.
The son became like the father. I think he did. He didn't seem like her.
But maybe he looked like the father and kind of was like the father.
Her husband.
I mean, like his father, like her husband.
Maybe she didn't.
And that wasn't her first love. I think when you read a couple of, World War II books, you find that they don't want to talk about it.
No.
And probably a bad thing. I mean, to survive. With the resistance, they had to kill people that,
That's true.
they weren't killers, but they had to kill. And just to bring it up was bad.
And it's not a good memory, right?
Yeah.
It's not a good memory, even if you didn't kill anybody, but what happened to you, or what was done to you,
You don't
once
think
they
you would
relive
tell
it.
your children your grandfather was in Auschwitz and survived that?
Some of them
I just
didn't know.
can't imagine.
Some of the survivors have not. I remember I did something with the Holocaust, and
That's
I remember
interesting.
talking to some, and they said that there's a whole other group that they're trying to get to tell their story,
Wow.
but they don't want to. They don't want to remember it.
Yeah.
They don't want to relive it.
Oh.
They don't want the story. But some people, it's cathartic to
Yeah.
get it out.
But what is the woman that was somebody's Secretary of State?
Madeline.
Supposedly she didn't know that they escaped. She, as a child, escaped to England. No one told her where they came from.
Well, I guess that's.
Because I read the book, and she was shocked when she found out. She was shocked.
Yeah, I guess there's.
Her parents weren't going to go there, I guess. They thought it wasn't safe. I don't know. Madeline Albright. Because she thought she was born in England.
Yeah.
If the mother had stayed alive, would Ava have married Remy if she could have?
No.
She had such guilt.
I
She
think
wanted
at the
to,
end,
but then she had that guilt, and the guilt kept coloring everything.
Right.
Even when she wanted to, you were like,
Yeah, but the mother was still alive when she was finally with him and said she didn't care, right?
no, then her mother, well, the
Right.
odds were, the mother, I thought the word got to them that they were taken. The mother, she thought she was still alive, but she was taken. When she sits
She
on the
thought she was
steps,
still
when she sits
alive.
on the steps waiting for him,
Yes.
she's dead and she knows she's dead.
Right.
But would she have gone through with it? Because she
She spent-
alternated. Remember how many times did she not say to him,
Yeah.
I do love you. She kept holding it back. She kept thinking of her mother. She kept holding it
Yeah,
back.
but then-
And then she regretted it. And then she went to find him to tell him. And then she got to get her chance and she'd hold it back again because her mother was in her head. And I just don't know if with her mother alive, could she ever, with hearing her mother saying, what a traitor, you're going against your religion, you're doing this to our family, because she was really full of hate against him or the thought of a Christian guy with her daughter or someone else that wasn't Jewish.
I didn't know until the very end. When he said, "What did you tell me?" Did he? I mean, he said, "What did you write to me?"
Right, he didn't know that she
That's
loved
right,
him.
and then she said.
Because he never went back
She
to
wrote-
look at
yeah.
the book.
Right.
Would that she would know
Yeah.
that she said in French,
At the
"You
end,
marry me."
when she went back.
Yeah,
But then her mother was
Right, he
gone.
never got that message.
no.
That was long after.
Yes, that was when she was
83
trying to
years
find
old.
people and stuff. But yeah, I just kept thinking she won't go to him as long as that mom's alive. She will not go.
But I think her dad resolved all that when he talked to her. And then she said, "Oh, if I'd only talked to my dad, then, I would have had my true love." And then that was kind of depressing.
So do you think the dad would have been able to convince the mom to
Yeah.
let that go?
Yeah.
Or would the mom have convinced him? to
No, I
let-
think
He was
that
the stronger.
He was
I
a
hope so.
stronger, and he,
Yeah.
and I think she would have,
Yeah.
if he put his foot down, I think she would have.
They had to accept it maybe.
Right, but not liked
he
it,
was
but
a good
accepted it.
Yeah.
Well, y'all answered all the other questions that I had on there, so, I don't know if you, read any other, what are some of the World War II books that you would recommend?
Ashes and Snow.
Ashes in the Snow.
Oh, I'm here. I'm sorry. When you were talking about how they would not talk about World War II, there's a book called The Commandant's Girl. The commandant's girl, I think. And what this woman went through to survive, she was the mistress of the commandant of a concentration camp. She lived outside in the town, but and what she went through to survive, and ends up in America, and she never tells her family all that she went through. So her children never knew what she had gone through to survive. It was called The Commandant's Girl. I forgot who that was by.
Is that a true story, Jennifer?
It sounded like it was a true story, yes. Winemaker and the zookeeper's wife, they made a movie of that one. That's the Warsaw Zoo. This was a true story for sure. Warsaw Zoo, and the Germans just take over Warsaw, and she keeps the Jewish children she gets them from the ghetto, and she keeps them in the animal cages underground, and so the Germans don't know that she's got them under there. And what a story she goes through just to keep these Jewish children alive. They have to be smuggled out of the ghetto in cardboard boxes through the plumbing company, the plumbing trucks. Oh my gosh. And the movie is excellent also. And then my sister was recommending The Winemaker's Wife. That's another one. So I was just inundated with them all. I couldn't read it anymore.
It's like $5.99 on Kids. I just ordered it today.
What was the zookeeper?
The zookeeper.
I'm sure you all read the Nightingale also. The Nightingale by Christopher.
Commandant, what was that?
Commandant's.
Daughter.
Commandant's what?
Commandant's daughter and zookeeper's wife.
Yes, Zookeeper's Wife, for sure. And then Winemaker's Wife. The Winemaker's
World War
Wife.
II fix, maybe try one of those.
Another one is the Paris Library.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the Paris Library. That's right. Michelle put a hold on that.
The Lost Girls. Let's see. The Last Girls. Oh dear. They handled the phones. They came over from America and went to France.
That's right.
And they helped the communications. Something about the Cable Girls. The Lost Girls.
Was it by Pam?
Switchboard. It's the Switchboard Girls, isn't it? Switchboard Girls.
Switchboard Girls. Does that sound right?
I thought the phone was in there. The Lost Girls of the phone. I can't remember.
I know. Okay. Yeah, the Lost. And then Michelle, what was the one about the architect? And he hides Jewish people in all these strange places from the Germans, like under the stairs. And he builds houses specifically. I think it's called The Architect's Apprentice or something.
The Paris Architect.
Yeah, that's what.
Pardon me?
Rita saying the Paris Architect.
The Paris Architect. That's it. That was a good one. Because he really fooled them. He would design these houses and they had hiding spots, like in the pipes, could hide Jewish people in the pipes. And at one point they burned the entire house down, but because they're hiding in the pipes, they're safe.
Sign that maybe a Nazi was standing there and there would be a pillar and there would be a Jewish person in the pillar.
That's right.
He was so perfect the way he designed these spots. It's a wonderful.
Wow. And that's a true story.
No, but the ending is something.
Sounds like it could be that.
Yes.
Oh, we definitely have books to throw in for the next time we do World War II.
Skeletons at the Feast. Skeletons at the Feast. Do you remember that one? That came out a few years ago. That was about this family. I think it was in Poland also, and they never ever thought the Jewish would be taken in Poland, and they're a very wealthy family, and they do come in and destroy this family. They had all the artwork and here I go. What was The Night Portrait? Oh my gosh, I just finished that. That is about the Leonardo da Vinci painting and it's done from the perspective of Leonardo da Vinci, the mistress of a count that's in the painting, a World War II soldier who is part of the monument men that go in to find the paintings that were stolen by the Nazis. And then a German museum curator, she's a woman that she leads the Nazis to where these paintings are being kept hidden. Inadvertently, she doesn't mean to do it. But it's just the story of this painting, and that's a true story. The painting is hanging. It's called The Night Portrait.
Night portrait.
Night Portrait, and I even was looking up the painting and studying it. Leonardo da Vinci's, what was the painting called? The lady with the ermine, that animal, the ermine, like the white fox or ferret. That's the name of the painting. So you could eat.
Laura Morelli.
Reese Bellin book just came out. It's called the Venice Sketchbook.
The Venice.
Sketchbook. She's written some, and they're lighter. You know, they're not quite as intense as this, but
They're dark. Okay.
it just came out.
Lilac Girls. Do you remember Lilac Girls?
DOW.
Oh, the Lilac Girls.
Girls. Yeah, it's about Ravensbrück, the women's concentration camp. Some of these are hard to read. Commandant's Daughter was very hard to read, or was it Commandant's Girl or Daughter? And Lilac Girls was very hard to read. I just have to warn you ahead of time.
I don't want to read anything that feel hard.
I know. It's, yes.
I just struggled through the American Dirt a little bit.
What's the next book?
Next is A Share in Death by Deborah Crombie.
Okay.
Preview. Well, it's about.
Who's leading that?
That is, I can give you a little bit of that.
Okay, yay.
I was starting with my question. A Share in Death is about, it's hard to explain the series. She writes in kind of a different style, like there's a couple, it's different. She was explaining how hard it is to write the books that she writes, but it's, A Share in Death is about a timeshare. In England, they're all around London, and Duncan Kincaid worked for Scotland Yard, and
what time period?
Sergeant, who ultimately they have a relationship at some point.
Jen, I want to know what the period was on this. Is it present day?
It's yes, it's their present
day.
Okay.
But she always sets things in a particular part of London, and that's always part, at the beginning of every chapter, there'll be a little blurb about this particular thing happened in, they live in Rottingdean or someplace like that. But it's a timeshare, and it's not as good as the rest of her books. If anybody's read that particular one.
Is this a murder mystery?
It's a murder mystery.
Okay.
They're all murder mysteries, and they collaborate with them. They get a little more intricate, and they're tighter in the end. I mean,
this is the first one.
This is the first
Of
one.
the series.
And right now
she's the series.
because I have 18 of them.
You like them?
Yeah, well, I've reviewed some of them, so you get them for free, you know. But she's coming out with her 19th, and she's explaining how, and they're popular, and she's explaining how difficult it is that her publisher told her that book number 17, which is, I can't remember what that one's about, that it should have been 2 books, you know, because there's Kincaid, and then there's, however you say her name, Gemma?
Gemma.
Is it Gemma?
That's how I know.
Okay. When they get together, then, you know, when they decide that they care for each other, then they decide not to work together. So there's 2 mysteries going on sometimes at the same time. And then there's other subplots, and I guess she plans them that way, but she said, you know, that her publishers like pull their hair out sometimes. But
There's a lot of characters.
there is like how
Even
many-
in The Share of Death?
Yeah,
Should I
there's a lot
start
of
with
characters.
There's 3 at the beginning that I sketched.
Yeah.
Well, the Share of Death is about a timeshare, and his cousin wife was going to have a baby, and they couldn't come, so he went there, and he wasn't sure why he went there. She wasn't there. There were some murders that were happening. It lacks something that the later ones, you know. We decided to start the first one.
Yeah.
It is the first one. I guess the second one probably would be better to start with. I think that probably the first one I ever reviewed for them was like 10, you know. So I eventually went back and read them, and I think A Share in Death is kind of like, okay.
But maybe if you haven't read the other
Expected
one.
to start with that from the beginning of an author's career.
And that's why I guess I like series, particularly a good series, because they get more and more depth.
Yeah.
You know, characters get more depth.
They change, they grow, yeah.
Yeah, they grow. The scenes are, and when the email that I sent you that she said, she had said she would come and Zoom in, and obviously she's not going to do that.
Is that the author?
The author.
The author would come and Zoom with us.
Yeah, well, the last author we thought, she came.
Oh, did she? Was that fun?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
awesome.
She Zoomed from Cornwall.
You can go to YouTube and see the video.
So from
Not to give her, but
Ruth Downey.
Ruth Downey.
Ruth
Ruth
Downey.
Downey, yes.
Meadows.
She was fun.
How cool. Isn't that cool when you have an actual
Yes.
author?
It was cool. And this one, because I asked her if she had questions for the first book, and she probably didn't like the first book either. She was like,
She's learned a lot, probably. since the first
probably.
book.
She said, if you read it twice, you maybe didn't know.
But you know, but the fact that she's grown and the books have gotten better.
Right,
says a
but
lot
she
for her.
said maybe I could zoom in, but at this point, I think because the book is on a timeline and everything, and she just hasn't gotten back since she zoomed in. So she's not gonna zoom in. So I started. It's not interesting. It's just as not interesting as it gets. Probably when you get to the third or fourth, the characters have a lot of depth.
Yeah.
And the stories have a lot of depth. And she sets them in places where she has little vignettes of what actually happened then in 1910, you know, what actually happened to make this neighborhood unique for Great Britain. It's London, and actually the author lives in Texas. You know, she doesn't live there. She's lived in London before, but she flies back, and I don't know what she did with the coronavirus, because they have a blog. They call themselves the Reds, and Reese Bowen is one of them, but she's one of them. And they talk about what they've done in the pandemic and everything. And it doesn't sound like any of them are flying around to London, you know? So I don't really know what she's done about it, but she kind of like walks around to all these places. And so it's accurate, and the situation is good. If that makes sense.
A good murder mystery series is always.
It's a good murder mystery series. And if it's she's doing book number 19 now.
So it must be successful.
Yeah, right.
Somebody's paying her to write these books.
So that's the next one. And I do have some, questions written up. And I should have brought it today. I brought some other things, but when she was explaining her books, because Reese Bowen was saying, well, I like to blah, blah, blah. And then she was like, yeah, well, I have this character and this character and this character. And you can't mix them up. You have to have them separate. And
I do admire authors.
I know.
I do too.
I couldn't do it.
I do too, really.
Especially the ones that create a whole new world, like Harry Potter. That's a completely different world. I just think that's great. I think that I have to have like my dictionary.
I know.
My encyclopedia.
Imagination.
Exactly.
And like The Giver.
Right. Exactly.
Like, wow.
I still haven't watched the movie. I need to go back and watch the movie.
It's not as good as the book.
Probably
I
not,
see where you
probably
can see the, all the books we're reading. Is that on Facebook? Or do we
It is, but I have it right here too. So
Oh, you have a list there?
Yes.
Okay, good.
cool.
I go back and it's on, so I go back and look sometimes, but I forget.
So if you need a paper copy, it's right here.
Oh, that's a good idea. Should I read this book now or should I wait?
Yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed the book. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm so glad you suggested it was worth buying it.
Good.
And
says
in hardback.
Yeah, exactly.
I did drop off.
Did anybody else have anything they wanted to say? Or it's so wonderful to see you inside the building.
It is
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes, ma'am.
Talking about this particular subject, I don't know if you watch PBS or not, but right now on PBS on Sunday night, there's a series on a book called, or a movie called Atlantic Crossing. And it's about the prince and princess of Norway Escaping Hitler.
Oh, wow.
And
Mhm.
I think it's before Sunday night, I believe. 2 of them's already been shown, but you can still catch the other ones
Yeah.
if you
Right.
look on your TV guide or whatever, you can catch the other ones. But it's about their escape from Norway, and because obviously I don't have any idea, if they go back. Right now, she's trying to get to America, but her and her husband, the prince, have separated because he went in the service to help.
Oh, wow.
So they have been separated. So
That does sound good. PBS always has good stuff.
yeah, it's good. It's good. PBS,
Oh,
Sunday.
I will try to get the authors and everything of the books that we have been recommended. Thank you for the recommendations, because the books that everybody recommends is always better than the ones I just kind of pick up because I like the cover. So
No, this was a good.
Michelle, I will say this book had a different aspect of World War II that you don't often hear about, the document forgers, and you just don't hear about that very often. And so this was a different aspect of World War II that I hadn't read before.
yeah, I hadn't read it either.
The Zookeeper sounds good too.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Oh gosh, that was moving. Yes, very. And the movie is excellent movie of that too. So I can write some of those up unless Michelle, you wrote them all down. Did you write everything down?
I don't know that I got all the titles.
Okay.
Okay.
For anybody that wants to read them on Kindle, usually towards the end of the month,
Oh, they have sales?
they say spend $25 and you get $6 back.
Oh, okay.
So I wait for my purchases and it's almost the end of every month. And on Amazon. It's on Amazon.
I've never seen that. And I order a lot of books on Kindle.
It's usually like the 27th, 28th of the month or something like that. It's like, and I send it to my niece, I'll send it to anybody here if you want. It's a blurb that comes across the top. And then once you've done it, there's a little thing where you can go into your Amazon account and see how much there is. And also, since I'm a tightwad, I guess, no. Like when you order from Amazon, if you don't say, yeah, I'll get it tomorrow, if you say, I'll get it next Monday, they give you $1 or $1.50 digitally.
Yeah, I don't.
So this last time I had like 25. I had like $30 or something like that between Christmas.
That's nice.
Towards the end, towards the end of almost every month, and I just kind of look for it. I don't go in to buy anything, but I'll just like I'll look at it, look on my wish list,
Yeah.
And it'll say in the top line, spend 20, get $6. It's usually $6 you get in credit.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
So I wait.
Thank you, everyone. I will see everybody next, hopefully before then, but if not, then our next meeting is May 12th at 2 o'clock. Hopefully here, because we're not going back, we're going forward.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Michelle. I hope to join you next time.
Yes, ma'am. It's good to see you.
Nice to see you too. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
That's